The other day I wondered, can you actually learn real everyday Portuguese just by watching series and films, without taking notes or stressing over every single word? The answer is yes, but only if you approach it the right way. Today I'll show you how to immerse yourself in native content you actually enjoy, films, series, podcasts, while building real-world fluency, all without burning out. Not sure where to start? My free Mini-Tuga guide gives you 6 hand-picked resources including podcasts, YouTube channels, and series to jumpstart your immersion with native content. You'll find the link below. Now, while putting in more time watching a series, a film, a documentary, a soap, or listening to a podcast will help somewhat, unfortunately, it won't just magically mean you will start understanding naturally spoken Portuguese the next day. But with the chilled approach I'm going to show you today, you can take a massive leap and start understanding spoken Portuguese. Olá, eu sou Catarina, I'm Portuguese, and I've learned 11 foreign languages. I speak 6 of them with different levels of fluency, and exposing myself to those languages was key in helping me understand those filler words and expressions natives use all the time. And that's exactly what I help my unschoolers with, understanding real spoken Portuguese first, because once you can understand, you can finally start speaking. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to use a chill, no pressure method to learn loads just by watching a podcast on YouTube. The podcast is called Não Mandas em Mim, You're Not the Boss of Me. It's hosted by Inês Lopes Gonçalves, and she chats with famous Portuguese guests in a very informal, natural tone. That might sound intimidating, but here's why this is gold. It's exactly the kind of language you'll hear in everyday life. You'll get exposure to the rhythm, tones, and real expressions we use constantly. Don't worry about catching every word, not even the general idea at first. Start by reading the title and the description. Use deep L if needed. Maybe look up the guest to get some context. Then just watch. Let it wash over you. Focus on tone, rhythm, body language. Pick out any words or phrases you recognize and let the rest go. To get the most from this, I challenge you to listen for 16 high-frequency expressions, those little words and fillers we use all the time in Portuguese. Remember I promised in this video I was going to help you improve your Portuguese? Let's hop onto YouTube so I'll show you how to tackle this. So this is the podcast I chose, Não Mandas em Mim, and the guest is Salvador Sobral. I could have picked another episode. It's really up to you what kind of content you want. The thing is, these days it's super easy to get at least automated, auto-generated subtitles, which are not always accurate, of course, but they're pretty good. And this guy, in case you never heard of him, in 2017 he won the European Music Festival, quite a feat, and in the same year he got a heart transplant, and he's also a special guy. First, we're going to look at something the Portuguese do a lot, which is interrupt each other. We call it falar por cima dos outros, so to speak on top of the others. This is just a short clip, but let's listen to that. And even if you don't understand a word of what they say, don't even try to. The focus here is just hearing how one talks and the other jumps in, doesn't get to finish the sentence and all that. I remember once I spoke to a German guy who alerted me to this, and I had never really thought about it, that in German you need to wait for the other person to finish the sentence because that's where the verb is, and the verb is key information. But in Portuguese we can't afford not to wait. So here we go.
E tu começas, eu comecei a ficar muito nervoso, porque é uma decisão muito forte sair. Comecei a ficar muito nervoso,
muito nervoso. Sim, num prato da balança estão a pagar, tem que dar espetáculo.
So see how they were talking on top of each other, and this obviously makes it more challenging to understand. And my suggestion is just don't even try to understand what each person is doing. Either try to focus on only one or just skip ahead. Now let's listen again and focus on body language, because he is talking about how nervous he was and how at some point, some event, he's crying. He started crying. So look at body language and see how it would be different if this would be an English, American, or whatever podcast.
E tu começas, eu comecei a ficar muito nervoso, porque é uma decisão muito
So nervoso, and he puts the hands, and then?
Forte sair. Comecei a ficar muito nervoso,
Sim,
muito
num
nervoso.
prato da
fui
balança está,
programada.
estão-me a pagar, tenho que dar um
Exatamente.
espetáculo às pessoas.
Claro.
E
E havia algumas pessoas que
está
estavam a
aquilo que
ouvir.
é a tua quase
Integridade.
Sim, exatamente,
Sim.
ia dizer integridade a pensar se era uma palavra demasiado forte, mas é um
Não,
bocadinho isso.
é. E eu estava a ficar cada vez mais nervoso e tal.
Again, nervoso, and he puts his hands over his face.
E de repente disse, não, é aqui, eu vou parar. Amar pelos 2 segundos, e fui-me embora e comecei a chorar sem parar de um
Depois dos
ataque.
nervos.
So he started crying, and I had a nervous attack.
Choro de nervos, estás a ver?
Pois.
Eles aos gritos, fechei-me no camarim, liguei à minha manager da altura e disse, olha, fiz isto.
E por menos eu achei que liguei à minha mãe.
É um bocadinho.
Okay, something funny, and you can see from they're not just laughing with their mouth, with their face, it's the whole body.
Fiz isto.
Eu saí do
palco.
And this, in a way, brings more authenticity to a Portuguese podcast, I think, because you see their whole body. There's no table separating that you would only see the person waist up or so. It brings more to it, I think. Another thing we do a lot is changing gears. And I know this can cause a lot of confusion because you would expect, okay, the sentence started one way, maybe one subject, and then we just change completely. And sometimes the gender will even change and you're confused. So, of course, this would imply understanding a bit what's going on, but I'll show you. Let me go to the beginning so that you can see this in action. And again, I'm not suggesting you would need to know and master this from the get-go, because it would imply you know grammar, you know vocabulary. It's just being aware that this happens and being able to even spot in body language when this happens. Because there will be a pause, of course, right at the beginning. He says, tu começas, you start, but then he goes, e eu comecei a ficar muito nervoso. So, tu começas, he changes his mind, e eu comecei a ficar muito nervoso. Here we go.
E tu começas, eu comecei a ficar muito nervoso.
So here there was even hardly a pause, but he did change gears. Sometimes it's more obvious, but this is the example I found. This one is a funny one. Some people have brought this up to me that our tone tends to go up at the end of sentences, even when they're not a question. And we do this a lot when we're naming things. You know, this happened and that happened and that happened. And she has a line here where that is pretty obvious. I'll point it out when it comes.
Num prato da balança está, estão-me a pagar, tenho que dar um espetáculo às pessoas.
Claro. E havia algumas pessoas.
Estão-me a pagar, tenho que dar um espetáculo às pessoas. So you can hear, there's like almost as if there's always the same melody, the same rhythm when we're giving examples. Another thing we do, I'm not sure I want to bring it up. I know you're not going to like it, but the thing is, there's a ton that it feels like we're swallowing. We don't see it enunciated very clearly, which we know. I mean, if you've been watching content on this channel, I'm always talking about that. But there's specifically chunks, I call them kings, that are going to be silent by nature because they're asides. In this case, I'm going to show you it's a thought. Because when he says, vou parar, I'm going to stop, he says it almost as if it's inside his head, so we're not even supposed to hear it, but actually we're giving the pleasure to know what he was thinking at the time. So let me show you.
Disse, não, é aqui, eu vou parar. Amar.
Oh, hardly audible. But again, it's not that you need to understand what's being said. It's being aware that it was said very softly. Okay? And notice how often this happens. Okay, now we're going to the full version of the video. Those were just clips that I made. And when you open the video, you would, in the description, click on more, go all the way down and go to transcript, show transcript. Then here on the right, you're going to get the transcript. Ideally, it would be manually made, but it's auto-generated. Still, we can work with this. Now, I had shared in this other video the other day 16 expressions that we use all the time. They were a bit more advanced because a lot of them are like filler words and things that are not easy to just translate. But I'm going to show you 3 of them, how you can work with those to really tune your ear to certain words that we use all the time, little expressions, okay? So if you have a Windows, you would do Control F. If you have a Mac, you would do Command F. And then you would put here, c'est là, that's the first expression. This means, I don't know. And I have another video about the la. It's worth watching it because it's a really fun expression we have, and a word that has tons of meanings and functions. If you then click enter, you're going to have, you see 17 entries in the video where this is said. So let's look at the first one. We're not going to try to understand every word. We're just going to wait until he says c'est là, okay?
Estavas a falar de outra coisa. Isto é uma...
Achavas que era o quê?
Sei lá, por exemplo.
C'est là. This was quite clear. That's why I chose that one first. Let's go for the next one, because listening to that one just once is not enough. Same thing.
Outra maneira também de ver isto que é bocado, sei lá,
Sei lá. And we pause afterwards, okay? This is, I don't know, we're thinking and in the middle we say, sei lá. One more.
Radicais de esportes ou de riscos, sei lá, lembro-me de irmos tocar.
Sei lá. This was a bit more discreet, but it's still there. Now, but I think you get the point, and of course you should do more of this. And let me go fish out the other one. Yeah, so this is also audible, should be more because it has the accent there, so the queen is more audible. And we want to match the whole word, otherwise you're going to get only, you may get words that include PA without the accent, and that's not what we want. And pa, it could be opa, epa, but then people pronounce in fast speech as pa. It's hard to translate this one, but it's something we say like dude. But it's not as informal as it would be in English, and it's used in a different way. So again, it requires a lot of input and attention to this to notice. Okay, but let's listen to a few.
Coisa de pá, não estou para isto.
Pá, não estou para isto. One more.
Ela levanta assim, pá, e tu vives
Pá, it's even a bit long.
aquilo com ela,
Sim.
que é tipo, ai meu Deus, ela não sabe.
Sempre que saudar o Presidente da Câmara ou a Presidente da Câmara. Pá, não me chateiem.
This one was not so audible because he said a swear word before. Let me just try one more.
Ao mesmo tempo, há pessoas que às vezes comem a ver estas coisas, não é?
Pá, não me interessa.
Ok.
Pá, não me interessa. Okay? Like I couldn't care less. And this pá, it's a filler word. Okay? Now let's check the next one. Tipo corresponds to like. You know those people who say like all the time? I want to see from the beginning of the video. Okay. Boom. Here we go.
2017,
Inacreditável.
sim.
É tipo, se alguém me contasse essa história, pá,
Tipo, so this is less audible. You don't have that accent there. You're going to have an O at the end, which is ooh. So you really need to listen to a few of these. And as you can see, it's said a lot.
Sim, tem que ter. Eu sou uma grávida permanente, estás a ver? Tipo saladas.
estou sempre com desejos.
Like, tipo, sometimes we make it longer, tipo, when we're thinking what to say afterwards.
Ou, eu não digo que de repente seja tipo, quer lá saber, vou fazer.
So with hers, it has been slightly harder to hear her. But now I want to go to the last one because the last example is really cool and so useful. It's not very elegant, okay, but it's really useful when you're trying, like you're building up your vocabulary, you're starting to be able to express yourself a bit in Portuguese. So we don't want to match the whole word. Yeah. But it's useful because you have something to say at the end when you're not left hanging. Almost in Polish, how you used to say "I tak dalej" at the end of words, not at the end of words, at the end of sentences, as in an etc. But in Portuguese, saying etc. You know, sei que would work better, and I don't know what. It's almost like and whatever and whatnot in English. Let's listen to the first one.
O concerto já estava com febre e não sei o quê.
E não sei que. So it's going to be very, very run together. Like again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 words corresponds to one sound. Next one.
Para pôr os sapatinhos e não sei o quê. Então,
So And I'm sure some of you were going to say, yeah, but it's impossible to hear this. If you do this a few times and then in another video, in another podcast, in another whatever, you will train your ears to it. And then it's the law of attraction. I also mentioned this in this other video. If you go, now that you're aware of this expression, you're going to hear it again. Okay? Hear it, see it, use it. Perhaps let's just listen to a couple more.
Vodafone, não sei o quê.
Vodafone and whatever.
Não se pode ter t-shirts a dizer não sei quê. Não se
pode ter t-shirts a dizer e não sei quê. So you can't have t-shirts saying whatever. Okay? I'll leave the other expressions in the description so that you can test this out for yourself and have fun. See, you don't need to study every line of dialogue or pause every few seconds to make progress. This relaxed kind of exposure, when done often and with the right content, builds your listening comprehension naturally, which is the first step to fluency. If you want more resources like this, make sure to download my free guide, Mini-Tuga. It gives you 6 of my favorite tools for immersing yourself in authentic Portuguese so you can keep learning without studying. You'll find the link in the description. If this has helped, let me know in the comments, and let me know if you would like me to break down another podcast episode or soap opera or something else. Obrigada por verem, obrigada por me ouvirem. Boas séries, filmes, podcasts, boas séries, filmes, podcasts, reels no YouTube. Boas séries, filmes, podcasts, reels no Instagram, blogs, vídeos no YouTube, o que for. E até à próxima.